from Basel, like she said. I did go to Africa this last fall. I went from September to December. It's funny when people, like, when you tell them where you went, you just say Africa, because no one really knows. Like, they know Kenya and like Ghana and South Africa, and that's kind of about it. So I just think it's funny. But why I chose Africa, I had always had this like feeling of I just wanted to go there. Ever since I was little, I always talked about it with my friends. I just can't explain why I wanted to go so bad. And so after my first year of college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to major in, and I didn't want to like go to college and like spend a bunch of money on classes that I wasn't going to need. So I decided I was going to take a break. And I don't even know how it got like brought up in my head again, but I just started searching like Africa volunteer like places to go and organizations to be with. And I found one, and then I started searching countries. And I had a couple that I wanted to go to, and I started researching them a lot. And so I finally picked Tanzania, East Coast, right under Kenya. And I did not realize how much it was going to impact my life just by that choice of a country. So when people usually think of Africa, they usually think of the shack in the middle of nowhere with no running water and no electricity. I mean, you're out there drinking goat's blood and you're walking in front of lions like all the time. Like, it's crazy and it's super dangerous, and only people that like were born in the environment can live there. So this is what it's actually like. I mean, those before pictures, I definitely took them in Africa, and there are definitely places like that in Africa, but it's mostly this. So the picture of the house, that's where we stayed. It was the volunteer house. We had about like 20, 30 volunteers that would stay there. The lady with the sack on her head, that was very, very, very common to see that everywhere. These amazing mamas, and I don't know, they have 2 kids on their hips and they got a sack of something on their head. It was incredible. I don't know how they did it. So I did have running water and electricity most of the time. So that was my bed that I slept in, so it wasn't like I was sleeping on a dirt floor. I was taken care of. I was safe. Transportation was a little iffy. If you see the van looking thing, that's called the Dala. It's like a really small van bus type thing, and you fit like 25, 30 people in it at once, and it's really, it smells great, and you get to meet a lot of people that way, and it was very interesting. It was super new, and I promised myself that I would never, ever, ever complain about public transportation in America ever again. So first off, I want to tell a story about the picture on the very far side. So that was when I had just arrived to Africa, and I think the flight plan was like 42 hours, so I was like dead tired. I had been crying in the airports, and it was very, very stressful for me. I was all alone, and so I get out to the airport, and like my organization is supposed to be there to pick me up, and I go out there, and it's like 6 o'clock at night, so it's getting dark, and no one's out there. And I was like, this is a scam. I was scammed. Like, I just wasted all this money. Like, all these things going ahead, and I was just like, it's okay. Like, calm down. Just call someone. So my phone was dying, so I had to hook it up to my laptop, and so it charged, and I called someone, and no one was picking up, and I was like, it's a scam for sure. And finally, one of them like texted me back, and so they called me, and I was like, so no one's there, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of scared, like, is everything okay? And he was like, yeah, like, I'll see what the problem was. And so he's like, I promise you, I will call you back in 5 minutes. And I was like, okay. And I mean, I'm just like sitting on the curb, just like crying, like trying to like stifle my tears. And there's these like taxi drivers on the side. It was my first time in a different country alone, my first time ever being alone, and it was just a lot to take in, and I was freaking out. And I actually did not tell my parents this until after I got home, because I knew that if I told them, they would be freaking out even more, and it would make me freak out even more. And so they don't like the fact that I didn't tell them that, but so I'm sorry, Mom. But anyway, so the guy calls me back, and he's like, so yeah, they forgot you. And I was like, okay, what should I do? And he's like, well, it's an hour and a half away from your volunteer house, so like they can't come and get you because it'd be nighttime by then. So you're just gonna have to grab a taxi. Well, I'm like this 19-year-old girl. I've never grabbed a taxi in my life. I don't speak their language. Like, I don't know how to do this. And he's like, just give them your phone and I'll talk to them. So he did it, and he's like, okay, they're gonna take you. It's gonna be fine. I was like, okay. So we get in the back seat of this car, and I just start crying. And I'm sure this nice Tanzanian man was just like, what is your problem? Like, I'm taking you, don't worry. And I just remember sitting in the back of that car and just freaking out. Like, I had no sleep. I was crying, and I just sat there, and I was like, okay, calm down. And I said a prayer. It was like super short, and I was just like, please, Heavenly Father, please just make me stop crying, make me calm down, so that when I show up there, I won't be a mess, and I'll be okay. And right after they said the prayer, my tears just stopped. It was insane. I mean, to know someone was actually there was really incredible. Anyways, next slide. So what my projects were, so I had kind of like 3, but my first 6 weeks, I was a teacher at it was kind of like a preschool kindergarten age type thing. It was called pre-uni, and so it was super small. It was 3 classrooms and then the principal's office. And so the story behind the school is called New Hope. So the man that I'm with at the top, his name is Juma, but everyone called him Papa Juma. He was one of the most incredible people I've ever met. He started New Hope all by himself. They started New Hope in 2013, but before that, 5 years before, he started adopting kids, but taking in orphans in his own house. And by the time 2013 came around, he had 11 orphans living in this, like, I think it was a 3-room house, and he was taking care of them along with his own kids. And so he was like teaching them in his own house because he can't send them all to school. And so teaching them, and then other people started sending their kids to his house because they can't afford to go to school either. So he's getting all these kids, and so finally he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna build a school and teach. And so he did, and it was kind of an incredible story how it all happened. And so everyone that works there is a volunteer. No one's getting paid. None of the kids have to pay fees, which is kind of incredible, and they're actually getting like a really good education, because usually when places like that, like public schools and everything, they're really, really bad there. And there's a lot of corporal punishment that goes around, and it's just not like a safe environment for the kids, because teachers there get paid like, I think we asked, and it was like 65,000 shillings, which is like $60 a year. So it was kind of incredible. So like obviously you can't live off that. So the teachers weren't focused on the kids. So it's just kind of a broken system. But so I was a teacher. Kind of my experience was a little bit different compared to all the other teachers there, my other volunteer friends, because usually when you're a teacher, you are like the teacher's assistant. But because my school didn't have a lot of teachers, I had my own class. And so my class was the 6 kids in the bottom with the peace signs. They always made fun of me because I always did the peace signs, so they learned how to. But I will say the beginning was awful. I hated it. Everyone always talks about how great it is, and it is. It's really great. But at the beginning, it's so hard. And they were awful little kids. Like, everyone talks about how sweet they are and how they're just so loving and kind and they're so unselfish. And when you definitely get into the older ages, they definitely start to become really these amazing human beings. But I mean, I was teaching 6-year-olds. They're still kids. If someone takes their pencil, they're gonna cry and they're gonna scream and they're gonna get mad at them. And so I was dealing with 6-year-olds, and it was definitely an experience. I had never really gotten along with children before, and so I will say, patience is a virtue for sure. I definitely learned how to handle them. They don't really respect volunteers a lot because we're coming and going all the time, and they know that we can't hit them, and so they just go crazy when you're alone. So it was really tough having to teach by myself. But there was a point where I was talking about switching projects because I was like, I can't do this. They're not listening to me. The travel was 2 hours away, and it was just, I had to do that every day. It was just really, really hard. And so I one day was deciding whether to switch over or not, and I just thought about these kids don't really have anyone, and there's not a lot of people in their life that show them love and show them that they're worth it and that people don't give up on them. They're just amazing little kids, and they're so smart. And so I decided that I was going to stick through it for a couple more weeks, and then I was going to switch over to a different program. And so I think I decided to stay 5 weeks there, but then I stayed 6 because I didn't want to leave. And because so once I made that decision that I was going to push through and that I was going to make it work, it changed. I mean, I fell in love with these kids. They are the most amazing thing. I mean, it was incredible, the love that I felt with them. And it was just an experience it was a kind of love that I never thought I would experience before. I mean, these aren't my kids. They aren't related to me. We barely even speak the same language when I talk to them. I don't know if they understand me. All they do is smile and say yes. You don't know what I'm talking about. But it was when I left, so they do this whole ceremony thing, and they sing to you and they say goodbye on my last day, and all the kids were crying, and I just lost it, and it was so sad because I felt like I was losing them. And I mean, I was there for 6 more weeks, so I knew that I could go and see them still, but it was just that teacher-student relationship that I just can't explain it. It was so surreal. But some funny stories. So whenever I'd sit down, literally whenever I'd sit down to try to take a break because they just take the wind out of you, they would just swarm me and start playing with my hair. And once they have your hair, they do not let go. I swear I had so many of my hairs ripped out. But so I learned to put my hair up because even I was teaching and I'd sit down and help a kid, and their attention directly on my hair. So it was definitely, I had to do something about that because it was such a distraction. And then food-wise, these poor kids, they gave me some of their food one time, and it was rice, watery rice, and salt would go a long ways. But I don't know, people always talk about, they always ask me, what's the worst thing that you ate there? And I can't really give them an answer because all the food there is just kind of bland. Like, people really just eat to survive kind of thing. So, it's really bland food. It's not anything like super gross, it's just like self-sustenance. But, yeah, I definitely learned how to love children and to be patient with them. So for the next 6 weeks, I changed to, this was the Amara Foundation. They changed the name now to something else, I don't know what it is. But so basically what it was is, it was an organization that helped women who suffered from AIDS and HIV. So every day we go and we teach them English lessons and health lessons and business lessons, because they had this little store that they sell things out of, and it's that one. It's kind of like one of the stores at like the county fair, kind of like it was. And so they would make their crafts and they'd sell them out of it, and so the store was not doing well at all. And I don't know, so at the beginning we were just teaching them, and one of the ladies came up to us and she was like, I really enjoy your lessons, but we really need to figure out a way to be sustainable, because this isn't working and we're running out of time to make rent and everything. And so me and the other volunteers, we sat down and we kind of came up with new ideas that we thought could help the company, and we changed our whole product line, and we gave them customer service, like, ed kit, I guess, and it was just incredible to see these women who had lost hope and thought that they were unlovable turn into these powerful businesswomen who were so confident and were so loving and cute, and I felt like they were all my mamas, and it was just crazy to see their lives change in 6 weeks. At the very beginning, we had maybe 3 people come every day, maybe 4 if we were lucky. By the end of the time that I was there, we had the picture on the left, that was, we were missing like 3 ladies that day, so we had about 10 people coming every single day, which was incredible. Morale was up. The whole company changed. They were making money. It was an incredible change to see. Just a little bit about the ladies. One of them, this cute lady with the blue wrap on her head, she only spoke Swahili. She didn't read Swahili or English, and she couldn't write either. I mean, this lady had the education of less than a kindergartner, and she was the cutest lady. I loved her so much. I mean, she had no idea what I was saying, but like, she had the cutest voice, and it was incredible to see her confidence just go up from learning to write Swahili and then learning to speak a little bit of English. I mean, it was really amazing to see the changes. And so on the picture of the girl in the bag and the shawl, so that was one of the products that we kind of designed for them. They were making a lot of the same things as everyone else, and so what we did was we kind of tweaked their line to just be more tourist friendly and things that you would actually wear outside of Africa, and it was soared. It was incredible to see. Next slide. So the other part of Imara was we got to go out to the villages, and we got to do these medical outreaches, and we bring people food and medical attention. And so my designated job, I guess, was I performed HIV and AIDS tests to everyone who wanted one, just to see if they had it, and if they did, how to take care of it, and where to get medicine and everything. I only went on these outreaches like 3 times, and I probably gave around 15 HIV tests, and I didn't ever get a positive, which was super lucky because I had to do it on kids, these little kids that it was just, in the moment I was given the test, I realized that I was changing their lives. And I was going to be that point of when they had to either go get help or know that they were going to be okay. And it was just, that was really hard to have to do that on a little kid that's 3 years old. One of the very first experiences that I had out here was, so we went to this house and they were a Maasai tribe. So the Maasai tribe, they were like in the first slide, they were the really traditional, they lived in little huts and they had their own language and like they have this thing where they cannot show pain, and it's, so if you do, like men cry or something, they're shunned and they're kicked out. And so we learned that there was a little boy in this Maasai family had died the night before of HIV/AIDS because he got a cold like a couple of days before, and it just killed his immune system, and he died that night. And so we were going to the house to give the family food and comfort and just see if we could do anything to help. And we walk in and there are all these Maasai people, and they're not allowed to cry, but the tears were just running down their faces, and they couldn't stop them. It was just, they were in so much pain that it was uncontrollable. That was really hard, and that was my very first experience being out there. And I just, in that moment, realized how lucky we are to have medical help and medicines and everything. I mean, it just makes all the difference, because if he had been in a different place, he might have been okay. But he was born with this disease, and no one knew, and no one could help him. So it was really eye-opening. So this is actually a really, really cool story. This little boy's name is Abraham. He lived at a school/orphanage for disabled children. It was called Destiny's, and it was truly God's work. So they had all these volunteers that were taking care of all these disabled children for the whole week, and then some of them would go home with their families on the weekends, and some of them didn't have families, so they'd stay. Abraham did not have a family. He did not talk. They found him, I want to say a year ago, and tourists actually came upon him in the jungle, just by himself. And so they took him in and they took him to Destiny's, and they later figured out that he had been raised by monkeys, by baboons, because all of his talking was like monkeys. He would sit in your lap like a baby baboon. He just had the mannerisms of a monkey. It was incredible, and I could just sit there all day and stare at him, and I just wanted to learn from him and see what's going on in his head. But other than that, he was like any other kid. I mean, he was strong and healthy, probably more so than the rest of them. And if you see his hands, his skin was so calloused because he was walking on his knuckles, and he never wore shoes. But he was the cutest kid I have ever seen. He was just lovely. And so that's just incredible to me, because how is this, he was probably, they said, 2 or 3 when he got lost, or left, or I don't know what happened. And the fact that he survived, I mean, they think he's 8 right now, they don't know for sure, but they think he's 8 years old. Survived that long in the jungle by himself is truly a miracle. I don't even know how other way to put it. I mean, it's a miracle. And I really wish that there would be more that we could do for him, because he's in this great facility, but they're trained to take care of these kids with disabilities. And he doesn't really have a disability, other than he has just not had those learning years that everyone else gets. But he can't go to another school because he can't talk. So it's just like this weird in-between stage where they don't really know what to do with him. So it's a really interesting story. Next. Okay, so this wasn't in Tanzania, this was in Kenya. I went there on a trip for a couple days. So if you ever go to Nairobi, Kenya, first thing you're gonna see is skyscrapers and cities and lots of people, and you're not gonna feel like you're in Africa. You're gonna feel like you're in New York or California, and the malls are nicer than anything I've ever seen in the States, and it's just really nice. And it was super weird because I'd just been living in like these okay conditions where I'm surrounded by all this poverty, and seeing that was just like, it was a really big culture shock. But then after we went and we had fun, and I ate my Burger King, and I got to have some ice cream, and we decided that we were going to go to Kibera, and it's the largest slum in the world. It's right next to Nairobi, like literally right next to it. And you would have no idea that it was there unless you went there. But you show up, and it's just the most impoverished place that I have ever seen. I mean, there is garbage everywhere. There's like mountains, like that's everywhere. Like that was just the normal. I mean, you just walk in filth. So what a slum is basically is it's like a city, but it's for the poor, and they have these little 10 by 10 rooms maybe, and they fit, I think we asked them, there was like 7 people in a little house, and they're just like right next to each other. And they have like electricity, and like all the wires you can see are going past, and it's just, it was way eye-opening to see and just realize how truly blessed I am. I mean, I remember texting my mom right after and being like, Mom, these people, they have nothing. And I have everything compared to them. Sorry. It was, so we go around and we gave out food bags, and we got to go into some people's houses, and they were just so happy. I can't explain it. I mean, how can someone live like that in this 10 by 10 room with 6 other people, maybe getting a meal, maybe not a day, working a job that maybe pays them 10 cents an hour, I don't know, but they were so happy, and it was just, it was incredible to see. And I really wish that the system wasn't so broken so that they could get out of there or do something, but no one knows how to fix it. But yeah, Kenya was definitely an experience, and I really like Tanzania compared to Kenya. So I'll just finish with a lot of cute pictures of kids, because that's what everyone wants to see. I met so many kids, and they really are, I mean, once they get into the older ages, they are the most unselfish human beings in this world. They are eager to learn, and they want to learn, and they're so smart, and they could run in circles around me. It was incredible. Every Wednesday we'd have all the kids in the neighborhood come and play with us, and we learned all their names, and they learned us, and it was truly like we were a big family. And then in the schools and everything, it was amazing to see all the kids and their smiling faces, and they love you, and they don't even know your name, and they just come running up to you. You've never seen this kid in your life, and they jump into your arms, and you're like, if this is in America, like, this would not be happening, but it was crazy, and I loved it, and I love to have the opportunity of Africa, and if anyone has an opportunity to do any kind of service, do it, because that's why we're here. I really, really realize that that's why we're here on this earth, is to serve others who are less fortunate, and love them just unconditionally, no matter the race or gender or whatever, just love equally and unconditionally. In Jesus Christ's name. Amen.